So leaders are important people in society. They lead us, they show us the way, they command, and they bring structure to society. So I agree with this quote from, it's a Korean proverb, which is, where there are no tigers, a wildcat is very self-important. So I'm first going to talk about what this means to me and how I interpret this quote. Then I'm going to talk about how my personal experience of how I apply this to my life. And secondly, it'll be another experience. So how I interpret this quote is, so the quote says, well, there's no tigers, which basically a tiger is a cat, but a wildcat is very important. So a tiger is a very strong animal, very scary, dominant, one of the top predators. So when there's none of that, you just have nothing. So be like there's no powerful presence. So to be a wildcat, you have to take that role as a powerful tiger to be dominant and take lead of whoever you're in charge of. So an example of this was my junior year. After I'd done 3 years of wrestling, I had to take charge of my team, of the wrestling team, during practices and tournaments. Since no one was there in charge half the time, I had to take that role of a tiger to show them what to do. If not, they would just screw around and just be a mess, because they were freshmen and sophomores. So I had to take charge and be dominant to show them what to do, when to train, how to drill, and make sure everything was right and everything was going in order. So another thing about this is during work. I just became a lead in my work, and so I am basically a manager now, and I have to take, I'm a lead, so I have to make sure the employees, I just got hired, do what they have to do, or nothing gets done, customers are unsatisfied, and it falls on me. So I have to take that down position. In conclusion, to be a tiger is to be a leader in this quote, and to be a leader, you have to be able to take control of who you're trying to lead and be dominant. Thank you.
Well, I thought the attention device was a little dry and a little on the nose, but you did tell us what the topic was. You had a point of view that you were going for, and I thought you did okay on that. There's a preview, but some of the supporting points are a little abstract. I think you're still working it out while you're talking at the beginning, figuring out where you're going to head with this. I thought you had okay examples. Your explanation of the quote, I think, is a little on the nose, but you get to, I think you need to paraphrase and get to the point a little bit faster. The examples that you had were okay, but we need a little bit more detail to make it interesting. You make your point, though, and so we know where it is you're going, what your point of view is. So you're accomplishing what you're supposed to be accomplishing. I thought that your vocal performance was pretty solid through most of the presentation, until right at the end, when it feels like a little bit like you got uncertain as to where you were going. You weren't quite sure how you were going to finish up, and then suddenly your pacing got off, your voice dropped out, and it just, instead of finishing on a strong note, you kind of finish it on this a weaker note. And you were doing a good job before that, so that's a little bit disappointing. But it was, that's a minor kind of thing. I think you have very good audience contact. I think you could be a little bit more animated with your facial expressions, but you were good with your gestures, so you're doing a solid job like that. And like I said, it was, I think, the end of the speech that dings you a little bit. The rest of the speech, I think you're solid on for the most part, but toward the end, I don't want to say you fell apart, because you didn't quite fall apart, but it's less impressive than it was during the rest of the presentation. All right, thank you.